welcome to CityScapes, a programme made by and about the members of PPN and affiliates.
Weaver Park is the first purpose-built public park in the Liberties area in over a century. The park is a major step forward for Dublin City Council in addressing the deficit of quality green active amenity spaces. It has a playground, a skate park, benches and a pergola, which provide outdoor recreation opportunities for the local community of Dublin 8 and further afield.
Hi, my name is Catherine O'Toole. I am a volunteer with the Dublin City Public Participation Network. I sit on the Secretariat as an environmental representative. I also work with the Irish Environmental Network, which is a network of 30-odd national environmental NGOs. And I volunteer with the local Dublin Community Environmental Network, which is the local groups in Dublin City.
DCEN is a group of Dublin-based volunteers dedicated to creating a cleaner and greener Dublin.
So there's loads of stuff going on in Dublin. There's hundreds of small local groups doing really great work, innumerable ones. I couldn't name them all, but as kind of broad categories, there's ones that concentrate on like biodiversity of an area. There's loads of cleanup groups. There's cleanup groups on each of the canals, in the Docklands, on Bull Island, in many of the estates and areas as well. And then some of them also do really good work for biodiversity and for that in the locality. There's zero waste groups. There's places like the Rediscovery Centre out in Ballymun, which is a wonderful centre that looks at the circular economy and kind of educates on various things about the circular economy and reuse and reducing. There's also loads of really good kind of eco-minded shops that have popped up in the last couple of years as well. Some of them that deliver to your door, which makes making that kind of switch to local produce and stuff like that very easy, which is great, especially when you find it hard to go to loads of individual shops, which if you're trying to shop more ethically is often what you find you have to do. It takes a lot more time. So it's great that a lot of them do deliver as well. Places like the Dublin Food Co-op as well, they get in lots of locally sourced vegetables, which it is probably one of the biggest, most impactful things you can do is to buy locally and sustainably grown and sourced food, both vegetables and meat.
My name is Mia Gallagher. I'm a writer, and at the moment I've just become a member of the coordinating body.
My name is Paolo. I'm currently the chair of the CB. CB stands for Coordinating Body.
My name is Harry Colley, and I am the founder, Big Boss. I'm my reason I put a big boss of like a very small community. Local businesses to be supporting your brands is incredible, and we try to do the same back to them.
I'm from Italy, and what I missed a bit when I moved to Ireland was all this packaged fruit and veg that I had absolutely no taste. When I come to the co-op and I grab fruit and veg from the co-op, then I can really taste that again, those flavors that I really missed.
Hi, I'm Noemi.
Donald.
Marion.
My name is Laurent and I work for the Dublin Food Club since 2018. And I love my job.
Fashion as well. There's a lot of second-hand shops and upcycling shops and groups that do clothes swaps and stuff like this to minimise the effects of fast fashion, which is about the throwaway culture of clothes. So there's absolutely tons happening in Dublin. It's really good to see them all. I mean, you know, there's so many that just crop up and you never know. You walk around a corner and there's something new. And so it's really exciting to see all these smaller groups, and they're growing as well, which is great. Probably the best way to find these kind of groups. I've personally found a lot of them just by living here and running into them, by talking to people, but also by searching online. Surprisingly, Facebook was one of the best way to find local groups, I found. If you search for keywords in Facebook, like your area and then biodiversity group or something, I've found that a lot of them have come up in that way. Or by getting involved with the Public Participation Network as well. They're a really good network of groups from all areas. And they're doing really, really good work as well in the environmental sector for Dublin. The issues that the PPN reps are working on at the moment, they're looking at reducing glyphosate, which is a herbicide. It's found in Roundup and other chemical weed killers. So reducing that is a really positive move. It really should only be used for invasive alien species. And when it is being applied, it should be injected into the stem usually, rather than sprayed all over it. And that's because the runoff into the water has serious negative effects for the water quality and for the water life as well. And it also really badly negatively affects the pollinators too. So it actually can poison them, especially, well, all of them really, but you hear the most about bees. So it disorientates bees and they can't find their way back to the hive, and they just die off. So it has some very serious negative effects. But reps aren't really calling for a total ban, because there would be issues if you ban anything, something else is going to come into place. So it's more about an incredible reduction of it, only for use in extreme circumstances. So that's something that they're working on at the moment. Dublin City actually has quite a good herbicide use policy in place, so that's definitely give them credit where they're due for that. It's really good to see they have reduced a lot of spraying. They've brought in other techniques like hand pulling, heat guns, foam guns, all sorts of different techniques that they've used to try and eradicate unwanted plants, rather than going straight to herbicide. So it's a really positive step for Dublin, and it's going well, so that's great. Another aspect that is being looked at in Dublin City, which might be the most pressing, or one of the most pressing at the moment, is the issue of water and our water quality, but also our water runoff. If you're living in Dublin, especially if you're on the coast, you'll most likely often have been hearing of the overflows of sewage into the sea, and which then is just a swim ban and this kind of thing. That's often because of, after heavy rains especially, there's an overflow from the sewage system into the sea. And a very simple step that could majorly help with reducing that would be to divert some of the rainfall, when it does rain, into rainwater harvesting barrels that could be used in the garden or to flush toilets or that kind of thing. So any kind of grey water use for that, and that would really significantly reduce the amount of water that's in the system and overflowing and causing problems. It would also reduce our need to bring water from elsewhere, which would have less of an impact in places like the rest of the country, where they're now looking at taking water from the Shannon, which taking water from the Shannon has its own issues, because the Shannon needs that water as well as a river system. Dublin City Council is actually trialling the use of rainwater harvesting in a new apartment block, which is brilliant. But I think for a lot of people, you want it to be done faster, you know? And I don't know, there's an argument between doing it properly and doing it fast. And, you know, a lot of people are still learning about all this kind of stuff as well. So, which is, you know, very valid point. Like, with all of this stuff, there's a huge learning curve and so many rabbit holes that you can get down. So if you are kind of coming to this stuff for the first time, you know, I'd say try not to get overwhelmed by the amount of information. Just focus on one thing that you're interested in. Take one action or try and do one thing differently. It can be very overwhelming to suddenly be hearing all this different news about the world and about our country and about Dublin. But yes, it's slow going, and we're all on a learning journey as well. It's continuously, science is continuously being updated and stuff as well, and new aspects to everything is always coming out. So there's always more to learn and always more to keep up to date with as well, which I guess can be another trouble.
For more information, visit the following links. We join Dora Kelly in this segment, Repurposing Materials.
My name is Dora Kelly, and we're here today in the Liberties College where I'm doing Textiles Heritage Craft and Renewal course, and everyone has come to see me to make little small simple craft for this class. And we're going to make little small tags like these for hanging or for cards or for any occasion really. You don't really need to buy anything maybe other than glue, and you can buy it whatever you want to embellish and everything, but basically all I'm using are scraps. So this is an old Christmas card. For example, this is my cornflakes box, and this is just the back of a piece of card that was my daughter was using at school. So you can use anything you like. So the idea is to layer it up. So we want to put the thing you have to remember is that paper and material will glue together with PVA or with these Pritt sticks, but you cannot glue material together. So if you're using scraps of material and you want to put two together, you're going to even have to use a fabric glue, or else, but I have a glue gun with me as well for anybody that wants to do that. But like this took 10 minutes. So it's an old piece of lace. It's a piece of cardboard that I put holes in, and then I just sewed the back stitch in to make it a little hard piece. This is just thread, which I actually recycled from somewhere. I think I took it off something. And this is raffia, which I've had for years. I use it for loads of different things. I'm actually using it weaving at the moment. And this is just embroidery thread. But you don't have to use embroidery thread. I have jute. You can use ribbon. You can use wool from the old jumper. Anything you like to use. And the best thing is to use just to recycle stuff, because you'll always have little bits of things that are no good for anything else that you can use, and from what you can make with little tiny things, you know. So anyway, so this is a piece of paper that I was using as a sample for painting I was doing, and it's nice paper because when the paint goes in, it spreads out, so you get this kind of, hazy, misty look, and you can just tear it. So no complications at all, just tear it to the shape that you want and glue it on. Should have did one of those timings, like, those 10-minute cookings. So you can really do as much or as little as you like. You can I'm going to put a piece of ribbon on the end of this one. So as I say, paper and material will stick together, but not two pieces of material. Well, not with PVA anyway, or Pritt stick. So I'm just folding that around the back, but you don't have to if you don't have a piece long enough. So already, look, that looks like quite cute. Now, excuse me. To that, you could glue on some buttons, or if it was a case, we'll say it was somebody's, birthday or something. You could cut a little piece of card and write "Happy Birthday" on it, and they could just hang it in their window or something. Or you could, if somebody wasn't well, you could say get well soon, or you could just put any kind of a print. A word is nice on it. Anything at all, yeah. So I've already threaded up a needle. So I've got to do some textiles. This is just, it's machine thread. I've used metallic thread on a few of them, but again, it doesn't really matter. It depends on what you like yourself. So I'm just going to sew through this and just do a little tiny flower just for decoration. Make sure you make a big enough knot so the thread doesn't come through. But you can just hold it till you're done and glue that down. So I'm just doing a very simple, just one stitch that way, one stitch this way. Now to hang them up, I normally have, couldn't find it for the class, a punch to punch a hole here. But today I'm just going to push something through to make the hole. Our plan for these is that there's 7 of us in here, and we're going to just keep making them and try and fill a big space in them, so at the end of the year they can all be put beside each other as a little series. So like we've got a handful at the moment, but it's very interesting to see what people will do with such a tiny thing and all different materials. So whatever you have in your house, I won't sew anymore, I'll just do one. So already you can see that that's very sweet. You know, just one little flower. It's lovely. So you could go on and you could sew on a button, or you know, a nice little heart there. I'll glue this one on just for the sake of time. You could glue on sequins. I have sequins there if anybody wants to use it. So basically what you're doing, you're looking at the space and what do you like about it, what do you want it to be just empty like this, or you can put more, and then also you can come along then maybe with some pens. I didn't bring paint today, but I've done it with paint. I have pencils here if you want to use those. They could be quite nice actually. Just a little bit of shading in the background. And it doesn't have to be like completely covered or completely artistic, but no matter what you put on, because it's such a small space, it's going to be effective. So tiny little markings are just as good as having a huge big canvas. So you could just come on and just do some little the pen would work. Some little markings in that. Oh, that's on my brain. You could just come on and do some little lines down the side, whichever colour you'd like. And then you can add some more ribbon. I have tissue here as well. Now, I also brought these over. I had intended, and I just completely forgot. I have rosemary and thyme going in the garden, so it could be nice just to just to put in it. So I'm just pulling back this paper a little bit where I didn't glue it enough, and I'm just going to catch this in here. So you just get a bit of kind of a natural kind of thing, kind of look about it as well. Because I don't have my punch, so be very careful when you start doing something. You just use them all. Just even wrapping them in the thread that you were sewing with, just gives it another little bit of decoration. Yes. So what you can do at the back is that'll just hold on really quickly with a bit of glue. Or you could use tape. I have sellotape here if you want to use tape at the back. I don't want to spend too long putting too much on. I want to give you time to make a couple yourselves. So I'm just using jute, but again, twine, ribbon, anything at all, old laces from shoes, anything. And you could have a theme. So if you had one, maybe for example, should I do that book? I had a book. Yes, this book. You could cut out a bit of text, and have that as your background, and then you could, if it was, about a castle, you could put in little castles, or, you could also put that in on a seaside theme, so you could have little seaside stuff on it. And if you're using a glue gun, you could probably glue on some shells as well. You could hang that in your bathroom, so you could make them like for all over your house. Or, you know, my what I've been using some of them for is making, you know, little tags for gift bags. Yeah. You know, rather than, and what are great, these little ribbons, you get them on the inside of your clothes when you buy them. You know, the ones on your dresses. Yeah, don't throw that. No. We don't show any of those things. Yes, I know. And what makes really great patterns is this is the inside of an envelope. I keep envelopes and very sad. This is envelopes, yes. And one of my tutors came in and gave me more envelopes. The blue ones there and black ones. Or what's good as well is origami paper. It's very, very cheap in what's that shop called? Deals, yeah. Or Sustrine and Green have really, really nice things. Yeah. I forgot to bring some with you today. What's really effective is wires.
What is it called? That one?
It's origami paper. Yeah.
You know the way you mentioned the shells?
Yes.
I have a photograph of when I was so like that on my vision. I went with a professional photographer, like really one photo. But the back of the frame is all shells.
Covered in shells, yeah. They're very effective.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially if you're going to, if you've been somewhere nice, you've had a really nice day, it might be good if you keep little tiny things, you know, a little shell, the little, you know, a little piece from one of the sand dunes, you know, one of the grasses, the dried grasses. And it's a keepsake, you know?
Yeah, we buy plastic or carton. It is wastable thing, you know? Many things you can recycle. Yes.
So that, I mean, I could go on and make some more. I'm just doing this quickly for you, but it's like, it's 5 minutes. I mean, you could take more time and do much more with it and make it more detailed, you know. And but these are only pieces of scraps. These are things I've had and used bits of.
Yeah.
This is tissue somebody gave me.
Yeah.
Never use that for anything.
No.
And tissue is the most wonderful thing. You know, it's easy to glue.
Yeah.
So this will be your big expense. You know. So do you think you'd like to make one? Yes. So I have little butterflies here and little leaves and buttons and anything you'd like. The sequins there, and there's stickers and there's little tassels which you might like to use. You can open those. So what I'll do, I'll plug in my glue gun in case anybody wants to stick on something that's a bit heavy, and I'll get you started on making your own.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Great. Thank you.
For more information, visit the following links. Next up, we pay a visit to the Rediscovery Centre, the National Centre for the Circular Economy in Ireland.
I'm Teresa from CityScapes and I'm here at the Rediscovery Centre in Ballymun. Roger, what is your role here at the Rediscovery Centre?
Hi, I'm the Programme Director here at the Rediscovery Centre. The Rediscovery Centre goes right back to the beginning of the Ballymun regeneration, and it came about as a way of rediscovering ways of looking at waste, and that came from the community. When the old Ballymun flats, there was only one bin, one chute, everything went down one chute. So when people were knowing they were going to be moving into new houses and they were going to get new recycling, they got very interested in learning about recycling. And then they wanted to learn a bit more, and they wanted to learn about reuse. And then they realised that they could possibly create jobs from learning about saving furniture and saving bikes. And so it kind of grew from that, and Ballymun Regeneration realised that was a great idea that the community had, and they kind of supported it, and here we are now.
And can you give us an idea of the programmes that are offered?
We've 4 social enterprises, so Rediscover Furniture, Rediscover Fashion, Rediscover Cycling, and Rediscover Paint. And what they do is they rediscover, they take waste furniture, waste bicycles, waste fabric, and waste paint, and turn them into new products. And all the time, so we're creating new products to sell, stuff that was going to be thrown away, but we're also training local people in new skills in fashion or furniture or bicycle mechanics or how to mix paints. So there's lots of great skills being transferred there.
And if anybody wants to take part in the programmes, how do they go about that?
So there's lots of different ways. We've employment progression placements, so people can have either community employment or TUS, where they, for a year or two, would, for 19.5 hours a week, would be in the workshops learning skills. And they also could be in the shop upstairs learning retail skills. They could be in the cafe learning barista skills, or and there's a visitor centre here as well. So there's lots of other skills that people can gain by working here. But then we also do lots of public courses, so the general public from all over Ireland or Greater Dublin can come and learn about anything to do with environment or circular economy. So circular economy is, which I haven't mentioned yet, is kind of what we're all about, but breaking it down, it's about making materials last longer rather than digging them out of the ground, making something and throwing them away. It's about making things last, a bit like what probably would have done a couple of generations ago.
How can people, companies and organisations actually go circular? To start, citizens can prioritise reusing what we have, sharing resources, repairing and refurbishing, and recycling as a last resort. But companies and institutions can do an awful lot more than individuals. They can design out waste, design for longevity, design for cyclability, invest in remanufacturing, create innovative business models, and support recycling infrastructure. Stick around as we explore circularity in more detail.
It's a buzzword in certain government policy, Europe, but it hasn't trickled down yet, I think, to the general public. But the way I break it down, or we sometimes break it down, is most of the economies in the world are based on a linear economy, which is you dig something out of the ground, whether it's aluminium to make a can, you make your can of Coke or whatever, and then it gets thrown in the bin. And the circular economy, which we're starting to get better at, say, with an aluminium can, where that aluminium can be reused and recycled again. But if you apply that to lots of other things like mobile phones or TVs or cars or everything, and then here we would be applying that to furniture, bicycles. So let's not throw it out. Let's see how we can make it last. And even teaching people how to fix clothing or do their own repairs, or how they fix their bike, or how they might learn how to actually fix a bit of furniture. So it's learning these skills that we've kind of got very quick into a process of, I suppose, a disposable, where everything's single use, or you buy something for a couple of years and then you throw it out and you get something new. Making things last longer. So there's a circle in the economy, so the materials last longer.
I see. So it's about becoming aware of what can be recycled and perhaps turning that into a business.
Hi, I'm Audrey from the Rediscovery Centre. I work in the Eco Store as a supervisor. Today I'd like to show you some of the repairs my mum did in around 1935, believe it or not. There was no such thing as fast fashion back then, thankfully, so they would have used everything. And if something developed, a hole or something like that, they would have darned it. Over here you can see she was doing some darning on some of her jumpers. And it's really quite beautiful, the darning, I think, in itself. It's like a piece of art.
There's obviously an environmental value in keeping these materials and make them last longer. But we also then, any of our profits get sent back in for training. So our participants learn skills, so they can, they're learning the skills, they can go off and get jobs. So there's a real value in that. And, we very much try not to go down the route of scare tactics about, the way sometimes you hear about climate change and, sea level rising. And so we very much try not to go down that route and have a very positive message. But there is a need for us to use our resources better. We only live on one earth, and we've only got a certain amount of resources, so we do have to make them last longer.
Roger, what does a typical day look like for you?
Okay, a typical day, and bearing in mind we are a visitor centre and open to the public, so we get there's always something exciting going on, like television crews coming in to film us, which is great. But a typical day for me as programme director is generally, I have a great team working for me, so I oversee the programmes, which I mentioned, obviously the social enterprises, but we also have an education programme. And it's, I suppose, allowing them, so making sure that they have everything they need to do the workshops with kids and adults, that the furniture workshop, the bicycle workshop, they have everything they need to, I suppose, be able to best demonstrate circular economy and inspire visitors to want to go away and and do more. I have a great team, so they make my day very happy and pleasant, and just plugging away at trying to raise awareness about circular economy and sustainability and environment.
You've told us about your programs. Is there any one in particular that you're very proud of?
Not really. I'm proud of them all. We're really doing great. We did really well during COVID. We were able to move to virtual and do a huge amount of workshops. And actually, in some ways, our reach was further from people being able to log in from the Aran Islands or on various different parts. And we do go around all the country. But now that we're back doing stuff in person, our education team is growing. We're recruiting facilitators around the country to do more of our STEM and sustainability. So that's STEM, science, technology, engineering and maths. So it's a real push on that, and obviously our focus is around environment and circular economy. Our bike program, we have a 3-year funding from Pubble. We're able to really upskill and get a lot more full-time trainees through our program, paid trainees, which is fantastic. And then we're also working with the bike industry to develop a new high-quality bike training standard. So they're kind of 2 standouts, but look, I suppose I'm proud of it all. I suppose the main thing is to encourage people, if they haven't been to the Rediscovery Centre, to come to the Rediscovery Centre in Ballymun. We're open Monday to Saturday, 9 to 5. Or, if you can't come to Ballymun, also maybe check out some of our activities. Like we go out and do a lot of outreach around the country. We do a lot of online workshops.
I'm Mark, Programme Manager of Rediscover Cycling here in the Rediscovery Centre in Ballymun. This is our last video in a series of looking at the bike in total, checking every part as we go. For the rear gears, what we want to check first is the alignment. So if you look at the bike from the back, from the top of the chain to the bottom, it should be fairly straight.
Also, if you want us to come to somewhere where you are, get in touch with us. We are based in Ballymun, but we are the national centre. So we do feel we have a national remit, and also, and then in a Dublin perspective, we're more than just Ballymun, we're the greater Dublin area. So please find out more, come and visit.
I see. Thank you very much, Roger. That was very interesting.
You're very welcome.
For more information, visit the following links. Filmed in 2021, we headed down to Mud Island Community Garden to chart its evolution from humble beginnings to a thriving community garden.
The garden is called Mud Island Community Garden. This whole area used to be known as Mud Island way back in the 1600s. And it even gets a mention in Ulysses. And the quote is, at Newcomen Bridge, Father Conmee stepped on an outward-bound train because he didn't want to pass the dingy way that was Mud Island. We actually have that quote written up there in driftwood over the social area that we call the Hacienda. The name of the garden actually was thought of by our chairperson, Fionnuala Halpin, who was familiar with the history of the area. But the garden itself, its inception goes back to about 2009. There had been social housing here, which had fallen derelict. The council had knocked it down. And then the crash came, 2007, 2008, and the site was just left derelict. So it was an unsightly dump. And I think lots of people had similar ideas around the same time. There was a local man called Tony Louth, who was a big composter, and he called a meeting, leafleted the area, called a meeting in the local Larkin Centre for the Unemployed, to get people together to talk about composting. And out of that meeting, there was a core group who already had sites on this site. So there was Fionnuala Halpin, who overlooks the site. There was Paul Redmond, Mary Kennedy. They came in at a later stage, other neighbours. And the idea was born that we'd actually try and get a licence to develop a garden on this site. Initially, people were thinking allotments, but the council were quick to say they had a huge waiting list for allotments. So if it became allotments, none of us were going to get one. So we pursued the idea of a community garden, and it actually took 2 years of campaigning. We had to jump through a lot of hoops to get that licence in the first instance. We had our first kind of public demonstration on Bloomsday in 2010 and gave out free plants. We already had the name by then. We had a big banner, Mud Island Community Garden. We had to get a petition signed, not just by people in the neighbourhood, but by everybody whose housing backs onto this site. We had to get a proposal together. We had to get a chairperson, secretary. I'm the secretary, and treasurer, and do a written proposal. And we would have got the help of local councillors. Sinn Féin at the time actually spoke out at council meetings, and in the end the council officers were directed to work with us with a view to helping us get the licence. So we eventually got the licence in October 2011. We had our first open day in June 2012. We always have our open day now on the nearest Saturday to Bloomsday. That's how the garden got beginnings. And we were lucky at that time that the Community Foundation of Ireland were managing a fund for community gardens. So we were able to apply to them and got a few £1,000, which helped us to employ a digger to come in. The council did clear it and fence it. They put up Harris fencing. So one of the first things we did was paint that green to kind of disappear it. And we got in our own digger to level it further and take a lot of stones and rocks out of the site. But because the buildings here had been ground down on site, once you went down a few inches, you were hitting rubble. So that was the deciding factor in making the garden primarily around raised beds. But what we did then was we got everybody, it was a small group initially, there was about 10 or 12 of us. So everybody drew their ideal community garden, and a couple of the lads, Paul Redmond, John Hannigan, who had the tools, they had circular saws and electric drills and things like that. They looked at all the designs. I think we had about 9 designs submitted, and they came up with a conglomerate design that captured as much of the ideas as possible. A few of us had been working prior to this in another local community garden, Summer Row. So some of our garden mimicked some of the things. They had these sunburst beds, and we have sunburst beds. Everybody wanted a central sitting area, you know, some communal aspect. And when we cleared the site, we found a couple of areas that were cemented over. There was remains of old showers and kitchens. So what we now call the hacienda, our main social area, was born because of the amount of concrete in that area. And likewise, the flower garden area behind me here also was primarily concrete. So those areas kind of spoke to us about how we should best use them. The garden itself incorporates people from all walks of life, all ages, all nationalities. And I don't think we would have met the half of each other without the garden. And I think we started off that first year just having an open day, which was quite small. We didn't have the social area structured as it is now. And then over the years, we built a barbecue. We now have a pizza oven. We've got 2 stages. We have lots of events. I mean, 2019, just before lockdown, would have been our busiest year to date. The garden is run by a committee that's elected every year, but we're always happy for members to use the garden for different things. So in 2019, in May, we organised a community picnic as part of the Big Hello, which was a national initiative. That's something we organised ourselves, and we had music on the stage. And then in June, we had our open day. And one of the things we always have at the open day is Woolley Ward's Farm. It's now called Woolley Farm, which is a petting farm for children, which is hugely popular, brings in loads of kids. In July, we had a ukulele festival called Strum in the Strand. And that was some of our members were teaching ukulele in the local primary school. And it was their idea, so they curated the stage for that. In August, or was it September, we had an experimental electronic music festival with a family rave with 5 DJs and 5 bands. And that was organised by another member who was teaching sound production at the time in Closh the Dúlig, and he did it with his students as a project. So again, they did the organisation and the running of it. We provided backup. And at all these events, we'd run a cafe with refreshments, and that's a fundraiser for the garden. We always have a big event at Halloween, and that's hugely popular, and usually a smaller event coming up to Christmas for members. So lots of activities throughout the year. I mean, it's always a challenge in terms of how you incorporate new members, because a lot of the core members are still involved and you want to give new members a sense of ownership. So anybody in the area, like our primary constituency is Ballybock and North Strand, anybody in the area is welcome to join. We garden 3 afternoons a week, so that's a way in for new members. And since last year, we've actually set up a series of working groups, so people not on the committee who want to get more involved in different aspects can join the planting group or the education group. Yeah, I think one of the strengths of Mud Island has been that it was very much from the ground up. I know some other gardens where organisations or councils have tried to get them going. It can be hard to get people roped in, but everybody who was involved from the beginning was really keen to get a community garden on this site for various reasons. And I think initially we were primarily about the garden and growing, but as the garden evolved, the social element, the recreation element became as important. And I'd say it's now, we actually changed the name of the garden. We were working on a new constitution and we decided to change it to Mud Island Garden Community, because we're a community that happens to be based in a garden rather than just be about community gardening.
For more information, visit the following links. This time round, editing is the name of the game with our how-to demo.
CapCut is an incredibly robust, free app that exists for iPhone and Android that allows you to edit your videos. You can download CapCut in the Google Store or Apple Store.
Open the App Store on your phone. This is the App Store icon. Tap the search bar at the bottom of the screen. This is the search icon. Tap the search bar at the top of the screen. Type CapCut here. Tap the CapCut icon indicated on screen. Then tap Get. Enter your password or use Touch ID or Face ID to confirm that you want to download CapCut. If prompted, the CapCut app will then be installed on your phone. This may take a few minutes. When the download has finished, tap Open to enter the CapCut app. Tap here. Happy editing! Open Google Play on your Android. This is the Google Play Store icon. Tap the search bar at the top of the screen. This is the search bar. Type CapCut in the search bar. Type CapCut here. Tap the CapCut icon. Tap here. To start the download, tap Install. Enter your password or use Touch ID or Face ID to confirm that you want to download CapCut, if prompted. The CapCut app will then be installed on your phone. This may take a few minutes. When the download has finished, tap Open to enter the CapCut app. Tap here. Happy editing!
I've opened the CapCut app now, and what you can see on my screen is images at the bottom. These are projects that I've already been working on. From your perspective, when you open these should be blank. So we want to create our first project. There's a large box at the top here that says New Project. And we're just going to click on this. You'll have to give the app access to your videos and images. But what this will do is bring you straight into where all the videos are stored on your phone. As you can see from above, it says Videos, Photos, and Live Photos. If I click Photos, you're going to see access to just my photos. Live photos are photos that I took that were live on my phone. Up at the very top, you're going to see stock images. These are free things that come with the app that you can use in your video. And then you go back to recent. So what this is doing now is this is looking at all the most recent videos that are shot on my phone. I'm going to pick a 10-second clip here. So as you can see, it automatically plays back the clip for me. What you can see on the bottom is you can say trim or you can say add. Say you knew that at the start of the video there was 2 or 3 minutes where nobody was saying anything. You said, I don't need any of that. Rather than load that into the app and remove that footage, what CapCut allows you to do is actually to remove it before you even begin. So if you were to hit the trim button here, you can see the video starts playing. But if you notice on the left and right hand side, there's these yellow boxes. Okay, if I hold my finger on the screen, and what I'm doing is I'm literally rubbing my finger along the screen here, you could see that this yellow box is getting smaller. And you can see the selected seconds here are getting smaller as well. I'm literally removing chunks of this video. So anywhere that's in gray to the left is now gone. So if I hit the tick button at the bottom right hand side, I'm only going to put through the highlighted section. It's not very fine-tuned, but it does save you time by allowing you the ability to remove large chunks of clips even before you begin. I'm going to roll this back to the start, okay? And I'm going to hit X because I don't want to trim anything off it. I'm happy with this clip and I want to put this clip through. I'm going to click the add button down the bottom. A whole new screen opens up. And this is my main editing screen. This is what allows me to edit videos. At the top here, you're going to see a play button. If you hit that, the video will play. Fairly straightforward. You can move your finger back and forth on the screen like I'm doing now, left and right. That allows you to quickly move back and forth through the clip. You can see that there's little timestamps at the top, 00000002, all the way along. Over on the far right, you're going to see an expander. If I click that, what this does is this expands it out to fill the full screen. This is great for playback. You can't actually edit the video in this screen. You can just look at it. So it's just a way to look at it. You're going to see your timeline here, which is your main strip that's running along here. You see this white line that's sitting in the middle? This white line is your marker. Wherever you stop and you start to make changes, this is the point on the system where we are going to make changes. So if I hit here, you're going to see a change happening here. Okay. And we're going to go into what that change is shortly. Okay. So the marker, it's important to remember that wherever you stop is where your edit's going to happen. Underneath, you're going to see something that says add audio. We're going to come back to that. At the very end of this clip, you're going to see something like this. This is something that automatically generates at the end of each clip. And what you can do to get rid of that is you can just tap on this and you see straight away at the bottom, there's a button that says delete and it's highlighted. Click that and it's gone. Okay, so we just removed that. So say you wanted to add more than one clip into this timeline. See at the very end on the right hand side, there's a large square with a plus in it. If I hit that, it brings me back into my folder, okay? And I can pick another clip. We see where it says imported here on the three lines, the pictures across. That's because it's telling me that's the one that's already been imported into my timeline. I'm just gonna grab another one. This one's 24 seconds long here. You're gonna see our first clip, okay? And it goes straight into our second clip. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So there's your change. We can keep going across and we can keep adding our videos. But for the purposes of this, we're gonna work on one video first, okay? So I'm gonna tap the one I just recently added, okay? It's now highlighted. You get a change of options at the bottom. You see split, speed, animation, style. I don't need any of those. I'm just gonna click delete, okay? Perfect. Okay, so just for a second, see what it sounds like. You see here that I'm talking looking down and then I look up and I start talking. I want to remove the part of the clip where I am looking down and I want to start here where I'm start to talk, okay? So what you do is you make sure your marker, which is the little white line, is at the start of the clip, okay? And what I want you to do is I want you to press your finger on your phone screen and I want you to drag your finger along, okay? Until you get to a part of a video that you want to remove. Okay, we'll stop there. Okay, so I'm pretty confident that this is where I want my video to start, and everything to the left of the white line marker I want gone. I don't need it anymore. Go down to the bottom menu, click on the edit button, which is the scissors on the far left. And it is exactly what you think it is. It's a scissors. What we're doing is we're taking our scissors and we're cutting a piece of this clip in two. So when I hit edit, okay, it brings me into a whole new menu. We're going to focus on the split. Okay, so splitting is exactly what it sounds like. If I hit this button, okay, suddenly something happens. What happens now is you still have the clip playing through, but what you can see on the screen is there's a little white box with a line through it. Okay, so if I play this back, record this for a second, see what it sounds like. Hi, you're not going to see any change in that video clip. It's going to play through as normal, even though I've done something with it. Okay. But what I've actually done is I've created a gap in the clip and I then have a decision. I can leave it or I can remove it, but I want to remove it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on the part, the new gap, the new little island that's opened up, okay? And as you can see, that island is highlighted, okay? On the left or right hand side, there should be some kind of thicker white lines, okay? But this way I know that that island is highlighted. and I go across my bottom menu here until you come to a delete bin button. Okay, I'm going to hit this. Boom. Suddenly, that part at the start I didn't want is gone. Okay, so if I hit play now, I'm no longer looking down. I'm actually looking straight ahead. Okay.
Hi, my name is Rob.
So, I'm pretty happy with that, okay? But how do I want my video clip to end? When I come to the end of this clip, I look down. So let's find a part where I'm still looking up. We'll say here, okay? I look very cranky. Same process again. I go down, I hit the edit button, okay? I get my menu across the bottom and I say, you know what? I'm gonna cause a split in this now, okay? So again, you've the same thing. You've got your clip, and you've got a gap, and you've got your clip again, okay? Now I want to remove everything to the right, so I want to clean up the end of my video clip. I'm going to tap on this, I'm going to go back into my new menu, I can ignore everything down the bottom, and I can just look for the delete bin, okay? So if I hit that, there. Now I should be looking up the entire time in this video clip, and I've gotten rid of the part I don't want. What if I said something in the middle of the clip, and I don't like it? I'm going to stop my marker here. Okay, I'm going to hit the edit button. All right, I'm going to hit split again, same as before, except rather than delete everything to the left of the marker, I'm going to roll this forward to a point. All right, now I'm going to hit edit. I'm going to hit split again. So if you look at the clip here, you're going to see a large part, a narrow part, and then a larger part. And what I've done is I've created a little island in the middle of my video edit, okay? And I basically said, now I want to remove this part. Put both your thumbs on the screen and you can pinch it out to make the timeline bigger. And that's what I'm doing here, okay? So I'm going to tap on this. So I hit the bin and the bottom menu and it's gone. So now when I play it back, the part in the middle is gone.
For more information, visit the following link. Our next piece sees us talk to Robert Moss of Antashka.
I work for Antashka, and I know they were set up in 1948, so that's going back a fair way. So there was some form of environmental concern and husbandry going on. Antashka is a fairly unusual organisation. It's a charity, but it actually has certain responsibilities that it carries out on behalf of the state, namely planning oversight, which actually seems to work quite well. It works very well for the media because they've always got something to shout about and there's always an argument going on. It works quite well for the state, but that's just one element of its operations. I mean, as well as the planning concerns, it's involved in advocacy, and it has a very strong environmental education operation, which has been running since I think 1994, with programs such as the Blue Flag for the beaches, the Green Schools program for the schools, and the program I manage is the Green Flag Award for Parks scheme. And these are all international programs, so they don't just run in Ireland. You go to France or the UK, you'll see them operating there as well. So Antashka's been involved in environmentalism in two main arenas, I suppose, since at least 1994 and maybe going back to 1948, and those would be the built cultural environment and the natural and more physical environment in terms of the air we breathe and the water we drink and the land we live on. People are more aware now, but they're also aware of all manner of different variations of reality. I think it was easier to dismiss environmental concerns in 2000 and before then as elitist and misguided and standing in the way of progress. Well, you know, we've all seen what progress for the sake of progress or progress for the sake of profit can and has delivered, and it can be quite daunting. And I don't think there's really any doubt now that environmental responsibility and sustainability is a mainstream concern, and it impacts on everybody's life and quality of life. And the two requirements of development, growth, and environmental health and sustainability, they're not, mutually separate. You can develop an economy and a society in a responsible way, and the end result is much more satisfying and less expensive in the long run. It's the short-termism, which is the Achilles heel of all democracies, because they work on a 4-year electoral cycle. This is why you have NGOs like Antashka, like the Irish Environmental Network, Birdwatch Ireland. There's plenty of NGOs doing good work out there. And you've got semi-state agencies who are passionate about what they do, like the National Biodiversity Data Centre, who are the architects of the All-Ireland Pollinator Plan. It's been a huge national success since 2015 when it was first published. And it's recognised as an international case study in best practice. There's other countries in Europe looking to emulate that. I've had conversations with people in Northern Ireland, working with other NGOs. They would be my kind of opposite number in terms of what I do with Antashka. They will be doing with an outfit called Keep Northern Ireland Beautiful, and they're looking to introduce elements of the Green Flag Award scheme that work with the All-Ireland Pollinator Plan. And then there's other European countries thinking, well, maybe we should have a Dutch or a French pollinator plan. It really worked well. It landed very well with the public. It was something they had an appetite with. It landed very well with the local authorities. It's embedded with them. So that's a very good case study in how far environmentalism is accepted and is a part of people's lives. It's something people have an appetite for. I would say Santry Community Garden is a good example. That got its Green Flag Community Award, and we did the flag raising ceremony at Malahide Castle with Kieran Keneally. He's one of the volunteers that run Santry Community Garden. But that's embedded or is supported with the local authority, Fingal County Council. So it's actually on their land. But what they're doing there is they've kind of rehabilitated an old walled garden, part of Santry Domain, before it was a park, before it was a public park. So they have a community garden there, and an orchard, and a herb garden, and a community composting facility, and an amenity that wouldn't exist otherwise, because there wouldn't be the staff or the resources for the local authority to deliver that. So that's a very good example of two organisations working together successfully. The park's surrounded by apartment complexes. They don't have their own garden, but they're all overlooking this park and the walled garden within it. So it's a nice dynamic, both in terms of a community amenity and a significant regional park in terms of what that's delivering for that community. It's not just a park with a few playing fields in it and a duck pond. It's very much a 21st century park. It's embedded very strongly with the community where it's located. So I think that's clever. Moving on into the future on that vein, we're in a situation where more and more people are living in apartments and flat complexes. That's not an accident. It's part of the National Development Plan. The goal is to have an extra 500,000 homes by 2040 in Ireland, and an extra 1 million people. In terms of building the homes, it's a struggle, that's for sure. There's a homeless crisis. But the focus on those homes is going to be apartment complexes in cities. The logic behind that is they don't want people driving hither and thither, setting off for work an hour before they go to bed, driving all over the country. You know, they want people living in high density residential developments where they work. We're talking apartment complexes. So you know, future generations are not going to have their own garden. So a park, a community green space, is going to be a requirement in these areas. Otherwise, no one's going to want to live there, you know? So that's a good example of what the future might look like. You might not have your own garden anymore, but you should be able to avail of a community amenity where you can get involved in gardening, and you too can take your kids to play with nature, and you can take your kitchen green waste to have it recycled, composted. That's a good example, Sanctuary Community Garden, of that working very well. There's a number of other ones across Dublin, you know.
For more information, visit the following links.
This is my cherry blossom tree. Every year I sit beneath her for the 2 weeks in mid-April that she blooms. I also venture to the cherry blossom lane in Herbert Park for the cherry blossom season, which is for me an annual celebration, a ritual retreat. Beneath the blossoms, I do yoga, read, meditate, pray. I heal and recover from the year's exertions. In the budding beginnings of spring, I make wishes for the year ahead. I bask in the beauty, surrender to the arresting sight and colour. Cherry blossom season is a time for reflection. It's a time to stop, sit still, and watch the beauty of life unfolding around you. It's important for us in our nature-starved times to find time to connect with nature's beauty. Every day brings even the tiniest opportunities to do this. As the petals fall softly around me, I feel divinely loved. The cherry blossom tree is a window into the truth, the divinity behind reality, ever present. A reminder of the brevity and miraculous beauty being alive. I hope next spring you'll also be inspired to take time to sit beneath the blossoms and gawp like a 5-year-old child at the beauty.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Cityscapes. See you next time.